Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oakes White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
And this week, severe weather ripped through southeastern Louisiana. The National Weather Service confirms 7 tornado touchdowns in the state, with another 7 possible tornado strikes under investigation.
At least 2 people are dead, 3 missing, and another 30 hurt in St. James Parish. A tornado touchdown at Sugar Hill RV Park and Convent. As you can see here, how the winds just tossed the campers about.
In neighboring Assumption Parish, the Woods Farm is where you get a good idea of the power in these storms. That is a sugarcane harvester on its side. This is at the Woods Farm. Owner Ronald Woods tells me that harvester weighs 14 tons. He also says the winds damaged 90% of his tractors. Luckily, on his farm, no one was hurt. Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, says Governor John Bell Edwards has declared a state of emergency in 7 Louisiana parishes, opening the door for aid.
We're going to do everything in our power to help those and assist those that have lost their homes and have lost their equipment. And so the governor has declared a declaration of emergency, and he said we're going to try to get FEMA in here to give us some help. So we're all going to be working together to help people to get back on with their lives and assist them through these weather crises.
This system moved in just the day before we shoot this show, so we'll have more on this developing story and its impact on agriculture next week.
Now to what some may call another disaster, the state budget crisis. In this second week of the special session of the Louisiana legislature, bills are beginning to move out of the House Ways and Means Committee and onto the House floor.
Yeah, but this is a little different this time. This committee is sending nearly all bills along to the full House, regardless of whether or not the committee voted favorably, unfavorably, or even voted on the bill at all. In those bills going to the full House is the, quote, clean penny. That would be a 1-cent sales tax with no exclusions or exemptions. Right now, Louisiana farmers do not pay state sales tax on feed, seed, fertilizer, or pesticides. Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, says if Louisiana were to become the only state in the union to tax those inputs, the average farmer who has 1,000 acres in production would pay up to $28,000 more per year just to cover that 1-cent sales tax.
If we add additional cost to agriculture, especially now where our commodity prices are low, it may be a fee we simply cannot pay. And so we have to protect the industries. We can't just say, oh, times are bad, that we're just going to go ahead and do these things. So we're negotiating that now at the Capitol, and I want to thank Farm Bureau for having their team in place as well. But we need everybody to pay very close attention to what's going on, because when they are rewriting the fiscal policy of the state, it's also the economic policy of the state.
Strain says this fiscal year his department is facing even more major cuts, with $5.2 million of state general fund money cut from the Office of Forestry. Strain says that's the office mandated to fight fire statewide and would see the firefighting force there cut in half. We'll have more on this developing story as the bills get through the legislature.
Last year, about 7,500 foreign workers came into Louisiana to work across the state. They're doing jobs that Americans simply will not do. Louisiana ranks 6th in the country in use of foreign labor on their farms. That's why nearly 150 farmers from across the state gathered in West Baton Rouge Parish for the 2016 Mid-South Agricultural Labor Seminar. Here they learned about topics ranging from healthcare to housing. Michael Barreto from Blue Cross of Louisiana says the executive order signed by Governor Edwards to expand Medicaid could affect their operations. He says this expansion of Medicaid will offer health insurance to nearly 300,000 people who were uninsured, also to around 200,000 people who are already insured but will now be eligible for Medicaid. According to Barreto, this does not change farmers' obligation to offer coverage to employees, but his lower income employee may now have the option of Medicaid.
If we talk about this expansion, a single person making around $16,000 or $17,000 a year would still be Medicaid eligible. A family of 4, it might go as high as $34,000 to $35,000 a year of income, and they would still be eligible for free health insurance through the state. It's going to be very important to them.
Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, also addressed farmers on the topic of the state's budget deficit and the special legislative session going on right now where lawmakers are trying to find a solution.
We're now a couple of weeks into the Lenten season, which means demand for crawfish is at its highest. In this edition of Louisiana Farm Life, TWILA's Carl Wiggers takes us to Rapides Parish to meet a family working hard to supply you with your favorite Cajun crustaceans.
Bill and Janice Cheek find themselves at home here on the water.
I love water. It's something about water.
For the last 35 years, they've earned their living on the water as rice and crawfish farmers. However, the Cheeks are often drawn to water for another reason: bass fishing.
I grew up fishing and hunting. And in the mid-'70s, I guess, was when the bass tournaments were getting pretty popular. And so I joined the local bass club and actually won the first 2 tournaments that I fished.
This was only the beginning for the Cheeks in professional fishing. Soon Janice joined him in the boat and they continued to win together.
Billy and I fished a team tournament, the UMAC Marine Circuit, and we fished the Mystery Lake Classic. This is where we won our first boat.
It didn't take long before Janice began fishing in the Lady Bass Circuit. There, she spent years collecting memories, fostering friendships, and of course, piling up these trophies.
Janice was good. She was all-time money winner whenever she did retire from fishing in ladies fishing.
Traveling the country bass fishing was a dream come true for the Cheeks. However, the farm back home remained a very important part of their lives. In the crawfish ponds, what waits beneath the surface still lures the Cheeks in today.
You never know what you've got on the end of your line. Well, you never know what's in that trap either.
Lucky for crawfish lovers, the Cheeks find plenty of crawfish in those traps. More than luck, Cheeks says that it's his faith that's allowed him to stay in the industry.
You do everything right that you're supposed to do, and then you do a lot of praying, and you just depend on nature to run its course and hope that it turns out in your favor.
While farmers depend on nature for their crops, consumers depend on farmers, like the Cheeks, to provide the world with food, fiber, and shelter. Not only do farmers meet these global needs, but they also have a huge impact on their local economies.
Everything comes back to agriculture. You look at all of the different crops that are grown, row crops, and then rice, crawfish, and the dollars that they bring into a state. It's a ton of money. The state depends on agriculture.
If the weather permits, the Cheeks will finish putting out crawfish traps next week. They plan to be in full swing filling sacks with crawfish by the second week of March. And this is now my 5th story to go out on the road and do. And guys, I've gotten to see a lot of different commodities, and it's been really, really fun going across the state and seeing all the way from oysters in Grand Isle to crawfish ponds this week. It's really, really cool.
What did you learn going out with the Cheeks with their on crawfish farm?
Well, I was expecting a pond, right? And it's only a couple feet deep, the water is, so I wasn't expecting the, just driving like a 4-wheeler, what it felt like through some water, and it was not quite like a boat ride.
And all those traps and everything, it's a little bit different from what you normally see out on a row crop farm, because you're thinking things are shooting up, but everything's down under the water.
Absolutely, it's kind of all below a tranquil surface.
Well, thank you very much, Carl Wiggers.
This week we begin a new monthly series in conjunction with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And for the inaugural story, we're headed to southwestern Louisiana.
It's in Beauregard Parish, where David Daigle raises cattle and farms trees with a simple philosophy: no changes needed. Brayford cattle come to graze beneath longleaf pine trees.
Folks need to know that you don't have to have longleaf to do this.
While Ragley landowner David Daigle has a pleasant conversation with NRCS District Conservationist Corby Moore. Daigle says the two work together as a team to make this land productive.
Our relationship with NRCS is fundamental to what we do.
Daigle says Moore gives him technical support, while the NRCS gives him financial support through CSP and EQIP.
This is all about managing a landscape for the benefit of mankind. This place has so many values for mankind. It grows good timber. We produce cattle, the consumptive wildlife.
Daigle says there are 2 drivers in keeping this land productive. The scorch marks on the trees are signs of one. These cattle are the other.
The 2 drivers are fire and the grazing of large ungulate animals. So we basically use our cattle to mimic that natural force on this landscape that the bison provided years ago.
We know that when we put fire on the ground here in January, in the spring we're going to have lush grazing capabilities.
Moore looks over the grasses in this flatwoods pond habitat, a plot of land that can produce up to 4,000 pounds of dry matter forage per acre every year.
Total production on a site like this is extremely low, but the net production is extremely high because we're putting little into it, but we're getting a whole lot out.
Both Daigle and Moore say that these are values any farmer or rancher can capture by developing a conservation plan with the NRCS.
Come in, schedule an appointment with the district conservationist, with the soil conservationist, with the soil conservationist technician, and they will help you begin the process for a conservation plan and start providing alternatives to assist you in making decisions.
Moore and Daigle say it's helpful to have a good relationship with your district conservationist. You just never know which programs could help your operation. To learn more about the NRCS and how they can help you on your farm or ranch, visit our website at twilatv.org.
Still to come on TWILA, we head back out to the ranch to feast on agriculture with AJ Sabine.
But first, we take you where young people get to show off as much as their animals. Stay with us. In the year 1900, around 41% of America's workforce was on the farm. By the year 2000, that number dropped to below 2%.
Though numbers have dropped, those involved in agriculture are as passionate today as they've ever been. Now that passion is showing in the younger generation, and we may even be seeing a reversal of people back into agriculture. Last week, more than 2,000 young people were at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center for the 2016 LSU Ag Center's State Livestock Show. This statewide event has seen a consistent rise in participation over the last 10 years. Dr. Bill Richardson joined many other distinguished guests at the award show on Saturday, including Louisiana Farm Bureau President Ronnie Anderson. They recognized many young 4-H members for doing their hard work. Dina Crochet was among the winners this year. She's been a member of 4-H for 8 years, following in the footsteps of her older brother. This year she won Reserve Champion with her Louisiana bred steer. This is her greatest achievement in the livestock arena to date.
It's been an extra thing that I've done, but by far this is what I live for, and this is my favorite thing to do. I couldn't really imagine my life without 4-H or FFA. I guess I would focus more on sports, but to picture a life not being raised in a household that's based around agriculture would be unimaginable.
More than 250 champions were named at this year's State Livestock Show. For a complete list of winners, visit our website at twilatv.org.
How many blue ribbons did you get at State Livestock Show?
I don't want to brag, but I've got a few.
A few, I figured.
I'll bring them next week and show you.
We'll have them next week. Well, the place where farmers and consumers come together most often is at the table.
In this encore presentation of Feasting on Agriculture, we get a lesson in cooking a great steak directly from a rancher.
Feasting on Agriculture with AJ Sabine is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board. Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat. By the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, rice, a world of great ideas. And by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, beef, it's what's for dinner.
Hello everyone and welcome to Feasting on Agriculture. I'm your host, AJ Sabine. You know what? I love food. No, you don't understand. I love food. And in my quest to find the best flavors across Louisiana, it occurred to me, why not go where farmers get their food? Or better yet, where do restaurants go to get the flavors that make their menus remarkable? So my journey has taken me here to Rapides Parish, to the Gonsalant Land and Cattle Operation just outside of Laurelville. I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Shannon Gonsalant, a local veterinarian who has taken the farm-to-table movement in a whole new, tasty direction. Now let me see if Dr. Gonsalant, Shannon, as he likes to be called, let's see if he's in. The sign says closed, but I'm sure he may be in there. Let's just see. Shannon! Hey, man.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good to see you. Thank
to
you
see
so
you,
much
too.
for having it. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. So we're here at the Gonsolent Land and Cattle Company, right?
Yes, sir.
What is your operation all about?
Mainly, we have a grass-fed beef operation that we sell our product to several local stores, local producers help us feed our product. It's kind of a niche program that we have.
Can you kind of explain to folks what the difference is in terms of grass-fed beef versus conventional?
It's really not rocket science. We still can do our herd health program, our routine vaccinations. The only three things that we don't do is we don't implant with any hormones to increase growth. We don't use any antibiotics in the feed or in general. And we don't feed them any processed grain. A lot of times it takes those animals about 18 to 24 months to get to 1,000 to 1,200 pound weight range. In the conventional beef, they're there within 12 to 14 months. They're a 1,200 pound animal because they got processed feed going to them and they're just being pushed harder. So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna go ahead and put the ones in that are not seasoned, okay?
Okay.
Some people say if you put them in, if you salt them beforehand, the salt will draw them out because it tends to draw out the fluid.
So how long should we let these cook on each side?
Probably about, on this low heat, probably maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And we watch for the burn. You try to watch on the side of the beef where you're gonna start getting the cook level come up. And when it gets to halfway, we flip them.
What is the advantage of cooking on the cast iron skillet?
I don't know, my grandma did it and doggone that shit.
Hey, tradition is a big part of cooking, man.
If you get used to cooking with a cast iron pot, you throw every damn thing else away.
It's the most versatile pan that you can ever own.
It
I mean,
is.
you can literally cook everything from pancakes to
That's right.
cornbread to meat, stews, everything. Yeah, when we come back, we'll have these steaks hot and sizzling and ready to taste. Stick around, we'll be right back. All right, guys, it's the moment of truth, my favorite part of the whole cooking segment, the tasting part. And we want to thank Shannon Gonsolent from Gonsolent Land and Cattle Company for having us out here. You, my friend, have prepared a wonderful, wonderful steak.
Thank you.
Let's dive into this. Now, you said this is medium rare, right?
Should be, yes.
Perfectly pink in the middle.
Different flavor, different flavor profile.
It's wonderfully beefy.
Yeah.
It's got a real hearty, I mean, you can't come out to a cattle ranch and not have steak. I mean, come on. It's absolutely fantastic.
Great.
Thank you. So good. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Feasting on Agriculture, it certainly has been an excellent feast. I want to thank Shannon Gonsolent again for providing the steak and the tour, the hospitality. If you want more information about Louisiana beef products or Feasting on Agriculture, log on our website at twilatv.org. We'll see you next time.
Feasting on Agriculture with A.J. Sabine was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, Ask Before You Eat, by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Rice, a world of great ideas, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Louisiana weather and National FFA Week were both trending online on social media this week.
As we told you at the beginning of the show, several deadly tornadoes ripped across the state, killing at least 2 people and injuring more than 30 others in St. James Parish.
As you can see from these photos posted on Facebook, the storm destroyed more than 200 homes, uprooted trees, power lines, and even knocked down this water tower in Assumption Parish.
The Assumption Parish Police Jury even took to social media to alert residents there to boil their water before drinking it, all because of that toppled water tower.
As the storm system swept across the southern United States, Louisiana Weather Services and local meteorologists posted constant updates and radar images of the storm's path.
Thanks to those advance warnings and weather alerts, numerous schools in South Louisiana canceled or shortened classes on Tuesday in advance of the dangerous weather. And Kristen, I really believe that saved lives.
I think it did too. They had that information up 2-3 days ahead before the storm, and that's where people go to get information. That's where I saw it was all on Facebook. And I know that parents, you especially, I saw your post about school closings, that people go to Facebook trying to see when their kids' schools are going to be closed.
Yeah, and this was a little bit different from, say, a hurricane. We have the advanced warning as far as the moderate or severe weather risk. but a hurricane hits everybody. A system like this, you have lots of little local pockets. So Convent, Pankerville, Pierre Part, all of these little towns are the ones who get hit. Meanwhile, in Baton Rouge, we just had a major 1.5-inch rain event.
And we didn't get much rain at all either. But on a much lighter note, folks across social media were also celebrating National FFA Week.
From celebrities to politicians, a wide group of people and businesses posted photos and videos showing their support for the FFA organization.
FFA chapters from across the country participated in online challenges and fundraising activities, all to benefit the future leaders of the agricultural community. Now moving on to this week's TWILA Trivia. Last week our question was, the first football uniforms were made from which fabric? And the correct answer is A, wool. Now for this week's trivia question, which country music artist was not a former FFA member? Is it A, Taylor Swift, B, Brantley Gilbert, or C, George Strait? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILA Trivia. Or you can always submit your answers on our website at twilatv.org.
This is the time of year when spring planting and South American harvest dominate our agricultural markets. The big news affecting us is a move made by the government of Argentina.
Joining us for this week's Bottom Line is Neil Melanson. And Neil, I understand that we've got some big changes with Argentina here recently.
You know, normally when elections like this happen, it doesn't change much, but they did have a major change, and it's one of the few times where we can really see a huge difference. For the last 8 years, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner was the president of Argentina, succeeding her husband Nestor, who declined re-election in 2007 and then died in 2010. Now this may sound familiar, an echo of Eva Perón succeeding her husband Juan, made famous of course by the musical Evita. In fact, Kirchner was part of the same political party as Perón, which has been in power for more than 70 years. However, this past November, Kirchner was term limited out, and in the election, the opposition party candidate, Mauricio Macri, won. Aside from the historic change, within a month after Macri was elected, he eliminated the export tariffs on corn, wheat, as well as dropping 5 percentage points off the export tax on soybeans. I'm going to give you the bottom line a little early here. In the month after these taxes were dropped, grain exports from Argentina jumped 57%. If you're counting, that percentage jump is almost the same as the export taxes were cut. It's interesting but not surprising, as Argentinian grains are now competing on the world market stage on an even level, just like their South American neighbors do. And guys, it's kind of a mixed blessing here because, you know, we can see the real good effects of, you know, getting rid of taxes on agricultural exports, but all of that gets dumped on the world market, which we also have to compete with. Now Argentina is a big competitor. And the big thing is I do see a advantage that Argentina did have in having these export taxes because it kept the grain in country. And for these developing nations, you know, it feeds poor people and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a mixed blessing, but it is interesting to see that, you know, when you cut the taxes on one side, the exports just shoot right up on the other.
And I know you follow the markets very closely. Was there any sudden adjustment there as soon as that grain came into the world market?
Well, you know, it's just that time of year when the markets are kind of depressed because South American harvest is coming on. But what I think we may see is a longer period of that because of course we're going to have a greater volume. When I was in Argentina in 2012, that's, you know, these taxes were all they could talk about. And the big thing there that we saw was that there may be even more grain that farmers have kept in reserve, you know, because they're not, they haven't wanted to sell it, nor did they want to sell it at those cheap prices on the domestic market. So they just stored all of that kind of stuff, and now they may just dump it all in one big, you know, pile to get whatever money they can out of.
We'll have to see how that impacts all of our farmers here. Thank you very much, Neil Melanson. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you something that could save your life, grain bin safety, on the next TWILA.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.